I just started doing little odd jobs because I like to create inertia, and I'm not the type to stay stagnant. And then that sort of gave me ideas. And then I just found the TV mounting niche. TV mounting, I mean, everybody has a TV. People buying TVs constantly at Best Buy, Target, Walmart, Costco. I start the business first and then tinker with the stuff that I want to perfect. Niche down as far as you can. So it seems very tiny. What seems like a tiny niche, but nationwide or worldwide, it's huge. I mean, it makes a fortune, an absolute fortune.
Welcome to the Franchise Empire Show. They say Rome wasn't built in a day, and building your empire doesn't happen overnight. My name is Tariq Johnson, and owning franchises is what helped me go from employee to employer and start building my empire for my family. So this podcast is for you, the empire builders. For those of you who want to build something that stands the test of time. This is for those of you who are crazy enough to believe that you can make the dream in your head come to life. This podcast is all about bringing you real people who are building real empires so you can get inside their mind and heart and get proven strategies and actionable insights that will catapult you to build, grow, and scale your empire. Cool. All right. I'm here with Marshall. Marshall, what's up, man? Thanks for coming on.
Hey, my friend. Good to see you again.
Likewise. Man, so I'm particularly excited to have our conversation because the business you're in is very unique and different. You are not a franchise, for full transparency, because most people that are watching are in the franchise community, but I'm still working on you.
No, I know. I think it'll get there, but we'll get there.
Yeah. And you've got a crazy background, which is pretty cool. I was watching some of your old videos on YouTube from like 8 years ago, that like when you got interviewed, and so it's just cool how you've evolved, and maybe we can talk about that too. Because did you say you used to have a currency business?
Yeah, it was. I mean, we'll get into that for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, all right. So I was going through your Facebook stuff, right? And
Mhm.
you made a post on there that last year you made a little bit over $400,000
Yeah,
mounting TVs.
yeah. I know it
Mounting.
sounds odd. You know, the breakdown after taxes and stuff might be like 200 or something like that, because it's a high profit business. But I mean, I write off a lot of stuff too, to be fully transparent. I mean, my business revolves around business. So literally everything I buy is a business expense. I don't really spend any more money than else, maybe going out to dinner, but that's peanuts compared to business expenses.
Yeah. And you've done some other posts on like how it breaks down in terms of like the hourly rate based on the amount of work. Because you're like, hey, I could go mount a TV for an hour and literally get paid like 250, $300 when you add in tips or, different things like that. So that's
Yeah,
fast.
no, that won't be an hour though. It'll take me like 15 minutes. I'm rarely there for an hour. If I'm there for an hour, then something went wrong.
Man,
So
that's crazy.
it's much higher.
Yeah. So how like did you have a background in being a handyman or in construction, or like how in the world did you get into mounting TVs?
So my friends, when I first started this business, they're like, "You're the least handy person I know. You can't fix anything," you know, which is a little hyperbolic, but a little true. It's just I didn't ever care to deal with handyman stuff. But I was an engineering major in school until I switched over to business. And so it's not like I don't know how to fix things. It's just I didn't care to. I mean, I had other things to do than to be like working on cars or, like fixing up houses or something like that. It's not like you can't do it. It's that you're busy doing other things. But I simply got into it because I didn't have anything else to do. My business markets live events like mastermind events for business gurus, right? And that just went down during the pandemic. And so, there's a lot of those emails or texts where I was like, hey, about that deposit, I'm going to need that back and we're not going to go forward with the project, stuff like that. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? Like, as far as money was okay. It's like, I mean, there was going to be hardly any money coming in, but I could weather it for a while, but I didn't know how long it would take, and I'm not the type to stay stagnant. So I just started doing little odd jobs because I like to create inertia. And so initially, the odd jobs I would do was just I would just market on this app called TaskRabbit, and I would just do any job that they had to a certain extent um, that I felt like doing. And then that sort of gave me ideas. And then I just found the TV mounting niche and then sort of went 100 miles an hour into it.
What do you think's the power and benefit of really niching down? Because so many people want to, it's like they have so many ideas, they have so many things they want to do, or they're doing multiple things. So like from your experience, we'll talk more about, the experience that you do have, but what's the power of one, choosing one business and choosing a
Yeah.
niche?
I mean, it's so scary to choose something so small because you think there's no way you can make money. And I get that. Like one of my mentors, Kevin Nations, he's the guy that all the high ticket gurus sprung from. No matter if they know it or not, they learned as whoever they learned from him or learned from somebody who learned from him. And so he took me under his wing like in 2011. And so he'd always like he'd beat it into people's head like niche down as far as you can. And so like with Garrett J. White when he was going through Kevin's program, he was he eventually broke it down to first he wanted to teach people how to fix their relationships. And then Kevin's like, that's not enough. That's just everybody in the world then is your potential client. And he's like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like I need to focus. And then it ended up married businessmen with relationship problems. And then the branding then separates it even further. You sort of have to be like a rough, gruff type that wants to get beat up. So like he's kept niching it down. I mean, it makes a fortune, an absolute fortune with this, what seems like a tiny niche, but nationwide or worldwide, it's huge. But TV mounting, I mean, everybody has a TV, so it seems very tiny. But there's just people buying TVs constantly at Best Buy, Target, Walmart, Costco. And so it's not as small as it seems. I mean, there's more TVs being bought than a lot of other sort of handyman related businesses or home service businesses. And so it just seems small because it's just something I never really thought about. It's just bigger than I thought, I guess.
Yeah.
But I mean, I am sticking to that niche. I'm not going into home audio or, I mean, I'm going to stick right here. As far as I can tell at the moment, that's where I want to stick to.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's your branding is on point. I mean, it's so cool. I remember before, I don't even know how we got connected on Facebook, or when I added you or vice versa, whatever. Um, but I didn't know you, right? We had never
Yeah.
met or talked. And so all I saw was the branding. And I don't think at that point you had really posted like any pictures of yourself. So like I thought you were like the branding, because you have like the pictures and everything done up really cool. And so it's a really amazing image that you've created and brand.
Well, I
Um,
am the branding. It's all, I
yeah.
mean, I don't use the other person but me. I don't have a logo. Logo's my face, basically. So,
But the colors, the imagery, the way you have it. I mean, even in the background, right? The way you have the power tool, like it's a gun,
yeah,
like
the
that
gun is real.
secret detective, secret agent vibe, right? Yeah,
Yeah, well,
it's crazy.
yeah, it's just because it was, I like to compress time, right? And so when I was thinking about this mounting man business, I'd have my business called The Agency, which is the marketing and advertising agency for high ticket gurus. Um, I just took all the imagery I'd already designed and then repurposed it. And so stuff like this in the background, I just I took an image where a guy had a gun. I can't remember what image I was going to use this for, but he wasn't going to have a gun in it because it wouldn't make any sense for an advertising agency. But whatever he's going to be holding, right? But it would give that idea of a James Bond feel. But then mind would flip and go, that's not, it looks like a James Bond character, but it's not a gun, it's a screw gun. And then people go, that's kind of funny. And so that's what I was going for. But it only took me 10 minutes to do it because I already had the idea ready. And so I could just immediately create those. And with the image with me with a screw gun coming out of my jacket pocket, like James Bond would do with an actual gun, that was also something I'd already had created. And then I just swapped out. I just put an impact driver in there. Or actually, I think there's a drill in that one, but yeah, that's all I did. So it took me like less than a half hour. I put up the website, ran ads to Google, and the next day I was already making money.
That's crazy. That's so cool. Which is why I've said to you multiple times that like I could totally see your business being a huge franchise, because one of the things that franchises, what you typically see as a common theme, is that they have really good branding, right? And so you step into a business and it's like you can feel that it's not a mom and pop place, but you're like, oh yeah, their marketing's good, their branding's good, and you're like, oh yeah, it's a franchise, got it, okay. And like, so you have that feel, whereas the people who you're competing against, they have sophisticated branding, right?
No, it's terrible. And you want to know something that's just irking me right now? So I keep trying out these companies to, offload some of the things I'm doing, whether it's Google ads or SEO. And so one of the SEO companies, they needed to take over my site to then, do their thing to make it so that it'll show up in search engines more. Well, they changed the whole thing around. Now it looks, I haven't put it live yet because I said, there's no way I'm not touching this. All they did, it's like a college kid who's cramming for an exam created it. They took everything that I'd done and then put stock imagery in of like, one photo is just a close up of a guy holding a remote, and then there's blurry TV in the foreground. And I'm like, what in the world what am I paying for? You took something that would cost a ton of money, what I created, and then replaced it with something that anybody could create. Like, it would have been better if they did it on Squarespace. Just took my imagery, put it on Squarespace, done. I couldn't believe it. But it now looks like a handyman website. I haven't let them change it over, but it would if I gave them the go-ahead. I just can't believe it. It just irks me so bad. I'm like, what? How can any of the chain of command that's making these decisions think that that's what you should do? It's like I gave them a Ferrari, and they took it all apart and replaced it with a Ford. I'm like, what are you doing that for? So anyway, that's irking me. That's how I feel about normal handyman websites.
Yeah, it's just
I'm not going to allow them to make my site look like a normal handyman website. I get a lot of business every single day. People are saying, who did your market? I had to hire you just to talk to you. They'll have me hired to hang their TV just so they can talk about business.
Wow, man, that's so cool. That's really interesting. And I want to we're going to dive in later because you now have the Mounting Man Academy, which you're teaching other people who want to make money mounting TVs how to do this. So I do want to dive into that overall. But I want to before we do, I want to rewind a little bit, because like anyone listening or watching right now, like there's a lot of gaps, right? Which is like, okay, this guy had a business. He was he was like an agency marketer, and then like he just literally threw up ads and started making money in one day and created this amazing brand and persona. So yeah, like rewind the clock for us. How did you get up until this point?
Well, you mean the being an advertiser and marketer?
Yeah. And learning that skill set.
In college, I'd always been like, it's when the internet was kind of new. And so like 1998, 1999, I graduated in 2000. And I was just fascinated with like, there's all these little niche sites about like how you can make money on the internet type of thing. And it was all junk in retrospect, but it leads you down a path. When you don't know anything, you gravitate towards hyperbolic junk. If it says it makes a big promise, you're like, all like, this is amazing. And then you realize, oh, that's junk. Of course, why wouldn't it be? But it leads you down a path. And so I didn't follow any of the things that, any of those sort of paths. It just led me towards learning more and more. And so, eBay was a thing at the time. And I just started finding products that would sell. So, and I think my credit card limit was $500, something I signed up for on spring break. They give you a t-shirt if you sign up for a credit card type of deal. And so when I try to buy stuff wholesale, I'd see what was selling on eBay, try to buy it wholesale, and then I would use, imagery. At the time, eBay was just words. Like you could put an image, but nobody really knew how to do it. And, I was good with that sort of thing. And so I just used Dan Kennedy tactics from a tape course I had of his to write copy. So one of the things was a product called Snorrens. And so I'd write funny headlines with actual sort of web design in the auction template instead of like tiny type. So I'd say, does your husband sound like a chainsaw at night, or some funny thing like that to capture attention? And that stuff started selling tons. And then I did the same with like a golf product, diet pills that ended up becoming banned because they're like meth kind of, I guess. The government was like, no, this is a little too close to like, it's not a good thing to be putting in your body. It was called ephedra. Somebody on here has heard of it. It was just all the rage. But that sold like crazy until, it got banned. And I had like 10 cases of it left just sitting in my garage. I don't know. I was like, is this just as illegal as having like illegal drugs? I mean, at this point, how does it work? I don't know. I guess I just couldn't sell it. I could have it, I suppose.
Man, that's
But it was eBay was my origin. Just cutting my teeth and learning everything. I became one of the first power sellers on eBay when they started that program. But that was my origin to all of this. Just learning how to craft words and create imagery to get people to look at you.
Yeah. And then what did you do after that? Is that when you did their currency business? And what was that?
Well, so the Iraqi war hit, right? And so I was always looking for the next thing. Like, okay, I got to this level. That's as far as this seems like it's going to get. Because then eBay was starting to get saturated. And so, obviously more and more people figure out, oh my God, people are making a lot of money here. It gets saturated, and then it's kind of a race to the bottom, right? And so I was looking for what to do. I created a little course on eBay selling, and that was making me some money. And so the Iraq war hit, and I'd always been sort of a political and international relations junkie. Like my mom would always buy me books on presidents and kings and prime ministers and stuff when I was a kid. And so I was like, okay, the Iraqi currency is going to take a nosedive. And when it does, people are going to want to buy it. But they can't buy it on the Forex market because it was labeled a terrorist country. So it wasn't available on the foreign exchange market. I was like, what if I just ship tons of this currency into the country and then people just buy it from me, hold it, and then they can exchange it at a currency exchange in the future, right? It worked. And so I initially had friends from the military shipping it over, getting it from a currency exchange. I would wire money, and then they would get it. They would go to a currency exchange. So if I would send like 10 million or 10,000 US dollars, I'd get 10 million Iraqi dinar. DINAR is the currency name back. Just FedExed or whatever courier happened to be the most convenient. Sometimes the packages would be ripped open and stuff like that. It was the cost of doing business, a little money stolen here and there. But that's what I did, and I named my business the Iraqi Stock Investing System, ISIS. And so that became a real problem because I started my business in 2004 of March. Now, ISIS, the terrorist organization, didn't come along until, really come along until 2010, 2011, become big. But when it did, the FBI was like, what in the world? I'm funneling money out of Iraq for years. And they're a terrorist organization. We got the same name. It doesn't mean the same thing, but they just didn't like that at all. So they showed up at the door one day, and
The FBI did?
I was like, oh, yeah, yeah.
Did they find all your boxes of ephedra?
That stuff was long gone by then. That'd be hilarious. They'd be like, well, the currency thing's fine, but this ephedra, we got to take you in. We got to see what this is all about. Can you imagine?
That would be
But
hilarious.
anyway, it turns out I wasn't doing anything illegal. They were just concerned that, if I was the Indiana stock investing system, it wouldn't have mattered at all. The acronym wouldn't have mattered. It was that funneling money out of Iraq, and then there's this terrorist organization, the same name. It was just really, really sketchy to them, to an outsider. To me, it was just like, shit, this ruined my brand. Nobody's ordering from me after this. People always go, I was going to order from you, but it just seems, I don't know what's going on with that name, type of stuff. But anyway, that was sort of going downhill anyway. I think I just covered the whole market, and I was going to make as much money as I was going to make. And so that's when I started going into like, a lot of people up to then would see my brand, just like they're doing at the TV mounting. They love the ISIS brand. Like how it looks is amazing. And I'd have these green screen videos where I'd shoot where like this big door would open and it says ISIS, and I'd say, welcome to the Iraqi stock investing system. I'm Marshall, just like I do in my current videos. It was just the first iteration, but people loved it. And so a lot of the internet marketing crowd was asking like if I could help with their branding and marketing. But I was making too much money to do so. But then when the terrorist organization, became a thing, it was starting to dwindle, And so I just started helping those guys out. I mean, that's how I got to the internet marketing crowd anyway.
So how many people do you have? You got all this demand for, you have an exploding mounting business, but are you getting hit up every day with people trying to say, man, help me build my brand? And are you doing an agency again? I would imagine you're having
I still do. I still do. I just don't market it because my focus is because there's not a lot of benefit on my personal Facebook to market it. It's just clients that I had before, and because here's how it goes. What I used to charge them, I can no longer charge them because I make too much money. The cost benefit is just different. Like if they'd say, hey, can you put this thing together for $500? I'll be like, I'll just go to this house for an hour and make that, mounting a TV and then doing in-wall cord concealing, selling a mount. And so I don't do it as much anymore, but when they really need something, they're fine paying it. I do. But I've got my whole goal with the agency is, now I've got this thing called the Mounting Man Academy going. I'm actually now calling it the High Ticket TV Mounting Academy. But that's just the agency inserting itself into the TV mounting business and taking back over is all that is. It was my sort of, I was going to make that full circle at some point. So it's exactly what that is, which is a sort of a high ticket, mentorship program. That's what I marketed for 10 or more years. So it's right up my alley what I do. I know exactly how to market it, how to advertise it on Facebook, the whole ball game. So it's my exact wheelhouse.
Yeah, it makes sense. And so what's fascinating to me is that like your skill, the skill that you acquired of being able to market, being able to brand, et cetera, copywriting, the whole thing. Let's just call it package it into the word marketing for an easy term. Like you've been able to now utilize that over multiple different businesses, and it's what like we have a small franchisee mastermind for people that have gone through our buying system. We haven't like rolled it out to the public yet, the mastermind. But that's one of the things I tell these new owners franchise owners is the number one most important skill that you can develop in your business is being able to market and generate
For sure.
revenue. Because at the end of the day, like you get those personality types, which this was me for a long time, which was I want everything to be perfect. I want it all to be
Yeah,
perfect, and I want to have this, and I want to have that. But here's what happens: you have this perfect business that has no freaking customers, or you have five,
exactly.
and you're not generating
No,
revenue.
I do it all the time myself. I still have stuff sitting on my computer that should just be out in the marketplace, seeing if it's going to win or lose. But it's precious to me, and I think I need to kind of tinker with it. You know, I
Yeah,
get it. But I mean, I start the business first, and then tinker with the stuff that's these I want to perfect. I don't just sit and not bring in clients. Like I'll go get a client first. It creates inertia, and then you want to get another client because like, ooh, that was nice, and then you just keep going. But I understand the sort of paralysis by analysis thing. But what I hate is though, like when a friend like will come to me and say they'll ask for advice, and then a year later they're asking for the same advice. I'm like, what did you do in the meantime? Nothing. Like, well, I cleaned. I took one of our spare bedrooms and turned it into an office. For what? You didn't get a client? I just don't get it. It's like I bought a desk and a printer and a new computer. I got a new Mac. It's like, okay, what are you doing with it? You know, it's like the people will do anything other than just get their business launched because I get it. I'm not trying to hate, but it's one of those things where a thing can be precious in your mind, and when you put it into the marketplace, it might just get shattered. People just might not resonate with it. And usually that's just a factor of you didn't know how to package it. And so you have to tinker with that. Tinker with your copy, tinker with maybe your imaging that you're using, your
yeah.
sales pitch, the price
It all
point.
comes
I mean,
it
there's a
all
lot
comes
of
down to
things.
fear of failure, right? It really all comes
It
down to fear of
is.
failure. We see it with people who there's people that look at buying or finding the franchise for a year, 2 years. They've looked at 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 different concepts. They get real far down the line. They get to what's called discovery day, which is like the end of the due diligence process where you get to meet like
Yeah.
the franchisor and the corporate team, but they're just never ever able to decide, right? And it's like nothing happens until you actually make a decision or until you actually implement. And buying a bunch of cool things or registering your LLC or an S
Yeah.
corp, it's not you don't have a business. When you have your first
No.
customer, you have a business.
Yeah, exactly. I know everything, all that other stuff, the LLC, and it makes it look like a business, right? But a business is only about bringing in business. And that's all it's about. Everything else is just like fancy dressing. Now, do you need all that stuff if you're actually going to run a business? Yeah, but you can get by without it for a while. Just get some clients in the door. All right, now form your LLC. Now get your tax situation in order. But get a few clients in. Just do that. And then you'll need the rest because you're bringing money in. And by default, then you need that stuff. If you're not bringing money in, you don't need any of it. So,
Nope. Yeah. Well, speaking of money, so tell us about the Mounting Man Academy. This is fascinating. And
yeah,
for those of you guys listening, I've been, hassling Marshall, telling him that he needs to franchise his business instead, because I think that's the bigger opportunity. But tell us about the
I think
Mounting
so
Man.
too.
Yeah.
But this is definitely a stepping stone. It's leading me to first bring in more money, but what it's also doing is giving me more ideas because I get tons of feedback from people,
Mm,
and not just from all sorts of people. People who are like mounting a TV for $75 and just cannot pay their rent. And like that's because you're charging too little and you can't get to anything in a day. Your drive time is half your day. And if you can only mount a few TVs, and they don't think of upselling or anything like that. And so there's a whole world they're unaware of. That for us is like the most obvious things, like 101 level stuff. Um, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, yeah. But as far as going towards the franchising, Like I talk to a lot of people, like a ton of successful like home theater and home audio people reach out to me. And and also people who just mount TVs like I do. But it's getting me like a great idea of all the packaging that they do, all the lack of marketing that they have. I haven't found anybody who has great marketing yet. Not one. I have people who have like a nice logo and a wrapped van or something like that. So that looks good. But as far as like a marketing system to bring clients in, I haven't seen. And that's where the whole ball game is. And that's the part that in my business people can't really see. They can see the fancy branding. They don't know exactly how I'm getting the clients in the door. And so I'll say a lot of stuff like, here's how much money I'm making. Here's how much the expenses were. This is what my Google ads cost. This is what it cost me because I had 2 contractors go do jobs today. But it doesn't tell, I don't give one single bit of information about what's going on behind the scenes to get those clients in the door. Like even in I have this free book I wrote called the High Ticket TV Mounting book. I think it's whatever, something like that. And I lay out everything except the part that actually there's like, I lay out all this, but not the part that shoves people into all that, like how that works. I tell them I use Google, right? And then this is all the pieces that I have, but I don't give them this part. And so they have this feeling like, oh, I can do all that, which of course they can't. They have to know graphic design. They have to know photography. They have to know videography. They have to know copywriting. They have to know Google ads like an expert, or else you're going to lose to somebody like me. It's just the name of the game. They've got to know all that stuff or have enough money to hire all the people that it would take to do all that stuff. And so my moat is that that's all my expertise. And so it's impossible to compete. If you have to hire everything that I'm just doing for free for myself, it's very hard to, your price points would have to be a lot higher. Your marketing would have to be a lot better to get those price points in comparison. That's my moat. Just having that.
Yeah, because you've single-handedly done everything for the brand in terms of built like you said, all the photography, all the videography. You do some crazy stuff with AI and what is it, holograms and like all sorts of cool stuff. Yeah, hopefully we can get some B-roll from you and we can kind of show some of the stuff.
We will for sure.
Yeah, but it's incredible. So yeah, so tell us about what the so the Mounting Man Academy. So people that say, okay, hey, I'd like to make some money.
So essentially, what I just said there is kind of my pitch. It's like you're going to have an impossibly difficult time doing all this. You already know you can't do it. Then who are you going to hire to do it? But I got this little thing here for $2,000. I'll show you exactly how I do it. Now, doing it yourself is going to be a lesser version. But as far as getting people to hire you to mount your TV, it doesn't have to look exactly like mine. This has got to be better than the other guys, right? You're competing against the other guys in your market, not me. And then for a higher price point, $5,000, it's a more done with you program, So just give me a photo of your face. I'll take care of the rest, type of deal, Or if you don't want to be the face of the brand, I'll create the branding a different way, create the Google ad and all the other pieces. There's a lot of little things too, like just little copy and paste things that I do to send to potential clients, to leads, that just pepper them with social proof and confidence that people just don't do. They'll respond with, hey, I can mount your TV for $100. When do you want me out? It's like, well, that doesn't tell anything about insurance, about how many TVs you mounted in the past. Like, imagine if if you're going to get LASIK surgery, you want to know that guy's done 5,000 eyes before. You want to hear that. And so they want to hear that with TVs. If they've done that many, God, they can mount one more for me, And And then if there's still not confidence beyond that, give them the insurance. You tell them we have this much insurance. There's just little things to layer on so they go, I get why I'm paying this guy more money, type of deal. Or else you're just going to be that $75 guy who gets it just because they saw you say, I'll do it for $75 and throw in the mount, type of thing. And that's a tough business to be in, because there's another guy who'll say, I'll do it for 50. It's a race to the bottom.
So our team have looked into a few hundred franchises and put together a list of 5 low-cost franchises that all make $1 million or more and that have a proven track record of both happy and profitable franchisees. So if you have a net worth of at least $150,000 and you want to see if the territory that you want is still available for any of these franchises, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. All right, let's get back to the episode. Yeah, it's interesting. It reminds me of what I've, the branding that I've done is not even close to the level of what you've built. But in terms of, my business and the way that we work with people on the franchise buying side of things, is we've completely differentiated ourselves in the marketplace. There's 99% of franchise brokers are free to work with. They operate as like a real estate broker, right? And so in my mind, that model is completely broken, because it's just for most of the franchise brokers, it's a race to get someone to the finish line, because one, that's the only way that they can make money is by getting you to buy this franchise as quickly as possible. So it's not
they'll do anything to convince you of that, even if it's not a great fit.
Correct.
In theory.
Yeah, and there are a lot of good ones out there, but follow.
Sure, but push comes to shove, if the guy's got to pay his rent, Yeah,
or his mortgage or whatever.
I get it. But that's not a flawed human; it's a flawed model that they happen to be in.
It is, and what's interesting is the real estate model is like that too. I think overall the real estate model is, it's just weird to me. I mean, nowadays, I don't want to bounce around too much, but I remember when we were selling our house in California, and we had a fairly high-priced house, and we had got it down to, I think, negotiating like a 5% commission, but still, like, they weren't even freaking showing the house. Like, they don't even show the house. What am I paying you 5% for? Why? You're not even physically showing the house. You create the marketing, that's great, right? You get it listed, but in these days of technology, anyone can do that. So, anyways, that's just my thought process overall.
My thoughts are exactly like yours on that topic.
Is it?
I feel like they're going to go the way of a travel agent.
Yeah.
What do I need a travel agent for? I can go book a flight on my phone. I can probably do it on my watch.
Oh yeah. You probably could. Yeah. But so
I totally get it.
Yeah. So in the buying space overall, so what we did, we came in different, right? We what I said was using branding, right? Which is like, hey, here's my story. I've owned franchises, because I was going to say you'd be surprised at how many people are franchise brokers or consultants and they've never owned a franchise themselves.
Oh, so I wouldn't be.
You know how it goes, right?
The world I was in with, like, how to make money online.
Yeah.
Most people never ran a business other than creating a thing that says how to make money online.
How to make money. Yep.
It always irked me. But what's the worst is I would have integrity. These guys are getting rich and I wasn't. And it's like, fuck. Sorry for that. It would just pick me off. Because I'm like, at some point you're like, what is this integrity worth? It's worth negative in monetary terms, that's for sure. But it is what it is. I got over that. But for a while, I mean, kind of, I'm not over it apparently, but it just was a thing. But that's kind of why I stalled so much on creating the Mounting Man Academy, is because I wanted to have all of this, like, money dump of accounting out there.
Like I've done it.
So many posts where I just tell exactly what I made, so that there's there's a lot of authority built up there. You know,
Yeah,
I've
which
seen
I
them
think
grow the whole thing. You know,
yeah, I think that's been the really cool thing about just watching your journey on Facebook, just how transparent you've been, showing the screenshots, and you're like, "Hey, I made $2,000 today, and here's the exact breakdown of how it worked, how many
hmm
jobs I got, how much I spent on Google Ads, and then like you're posting the screenshot. So it's like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, like that makes you're posting the photos of you actually there mounting TVs. You got your
yeah.
daughter with you, which is cool, you know.
Well,
So
my thing is I have to post a ton of variables because anybody who knows me knows I could just immediately Photoshop numbers down. Now, would I want to do it in the volume that I do it? I'd be spending all day photoshopping numbers. That would really suck, and I wouldn't get any actual work done. But I have to put other variables to buffer that up. And so I like to post as much things as I can so that it's all just perfectly out in the open and transparent.
yeah, I love that you do that, and that's the conversation of the high ticket and the online guru world is so it's so interesting, and that's obviously the world that you come from. I've
Mhm.
read and studied a lot of these folks, and kind of the overall model of how I've modeled my business, just in an authentic and
Yeah,
transparent way to myself. But it's yeah, it's crazy. I think it's just crazy how many people aren't transparent, or they're just it's smoke and mirrors, or it's lies, or whatever it is. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about, like, for me, franchising was a means to an end. I never wanted to be the franchise guy. Maybe that'll be the brand, the franchise guy. uh,
yeah, maybe.
I'm trying to actually get myself to not be the face anymore, and
Yeah.
try to take a step back and make it more of a
Well,
business.
it's harder to sell too because if you're the whole brand, you know,
Everyone wants me.
yeah, and then you can't get out of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's a thought of mine, obviously.
yeah, that
You know,
is
I can't
interesting.
be the mounting man ultimately. I have to, that's just a nameless, faceless figure at some point.
Yeah, what happened? I guess you're not going to get many women that join the academy.
I haven't got any takers yet.
Well, that's not your target market.
It's a dude-based business. It's just all guys.
Oh, that's hilarious. But what I was going to say is, what's interesting in the franchise world is that you have something called an FDD, which is a
Oh,
franchise
what is it?
disclosure document, and
Yeah.
it's a standardized legal document. And so because franchises are regulated by the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. And so in franchises, like, unlike the normal high ticket online guru world where someone could be like, "Hey, I've made X number of dollars," and it could be complete lie. It could be a complete
Yeah.
fabrication. In the franchise world, you have to have there's what's called item 19 in that legal document, where that's the only place that you can say how much money, like, other franchisees have
Uh,
made.
because
And
it's verified.
yes, and you,
Yeah.
although it's not necessarily verified, they'll say, okay, we may have either this is what was reported to us, but they're reporting it from the point of sale system, or the profit and loss statements from the franchisees that may be unaudited from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
But overall, they can't just say, hey. They can't just say this one guy is making this much money, and then not say, you got 100 other franchisees that are losing money, and only say, hey, we got this one guy making $1 million, you can make $1 million. Like, they have to then
Right.
show, okay, here's the average out of the 100 franchisees, here's the top 25%, here's the bottom 25%, here's the median. So there's a tremendous amount of transparency that I think creates
I
a
suppose.
legitimacy that a lot of, kind of other businesses that may not be as transparent as you, showing pictures and screenshots and
Well,
videos.
I'm definitely too transparent.
You
I
think
mean, I
so?
know. Well, I mean, not for me, but I'm saying I'm an isolated circumstance. I know people just don't want to show their accounting, But I take it like, what if I was a public company? All my accounting would be out there. They lay
Fair.
all the accounting right out. So I've just treated it like that. Why not just act like I'm that already? You know, now I get why, because I'm the only person. So then they also know what's in my bank account. What does that matter? I mean, you can't mug me and get my bank account. So, I mean, like as I've been running the ads for it, these guys who make no money are like, you know, never tell people what you got, my friend. Like, why? I don't carry it around in my pocket. Just people. I think it's because they just take cash all the time, and that's what they are. And I have to explain, like, listen, I'm trying to build a big business here. I'm just carrying cash around in my pockets,
That's hilarious.
So it's just a different mindset. I mean, I've just gotten so used to just laying it all out there. I'm just completely fine with it.
Yeah.
Like once you get used to it, you don't even think of it any more than like if I was saying, I'll show you my running log for this week. Monday was 5 miles. Tuesday was 3. Wednesday was day off. It's the same to me after you get over the fact that, money's a taboo type of thing. I know it annoys people. Like people I went to high school with must fucking hate it, because
the haters, they hate it. They're mad that it's not them.
They don't do it, and they wouldn't hate on me. But like just that feeling, like I know if you see something, it makes you feel a little down because it's a comparison.
Yeah,
and that's not what I'm doing. But I know that's just inevitable. That's how some people are going to feel about it. I know that. But a lot of other people see it in a different light and then just reach out to me. And I give them all the help in the world. Tell them how to improve their business.
Yeah.
I can't do it for people from back home just because I don't have the time, but I can tell them exactly what to do.
Yeah. Cool, man. Okay, so this was awesome. Really enjoyed it. So for people that want to learn more about making money mounting TVs and get one, you got a freebie, you have the Academy. Where can they find you and where can they go?
Yeah, we'll put it in the links. I'll just give you the Dropbox link, and then also I recorded the book. It's like 38 pages. It was just a brain dump of exactly how I run my business. I put it on Apple Podcasts too, and it'll be on other podcast platforms soon. I just put it on Apple quick because it was easy for me to just slap it up there.
Nice.
So we'll have the link for that too. But like, I got this video that I put out on the Academy page. Like, this is how I started my accounting. Check that. All the scribbles are my daughter. She's 4. She was 2 at the time. And so I just, like, this was where it started. 2/28 was the first day. So that was January 15th, 2021. Next day was 0, Saturday. Then 454, then 225, then 300, then 136. The first full week was $1,735. And so then the next month, you can see I've got it even more filled out. And so I got a whole video where I just go through all the accounting. Like, that's how I kept my accounting at first. I later then, loaded it into QuickBooks. But it's a great origin just because I just started it as like, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. What's the point of like creating a new business in QuickBooks when I'm just going to delete it anyway? That was my thought. And then, quickly I realized I'm going to have to do a little better accounting here. I wasn't even saving my receipts at first. I'm just going to Home Depot to get a screw gun for $100. Who cares? I don't even need to bother. I'm just going to use it for home use after this thing just kind of is kind of a side business. So, but yeah, all that stuff can be found at hightickettvmounting.com.
Cool.
I got a whole video with it.
Awesome. Sweet, man. Well, yeah, we'll link everything up. I got to run here, but Marshall, it was a pleasure, man, hearing your story. And yeah, it's super. I'm really
in the franchise world. This Academy is pulling me further towards it. It's my bridge.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think it'll be really, really epic. Yeah, there's nothing like it. And your marketing skill set, oh man, yeah, you'd be able to crush it. You'll have 100 franchise agreements signed in no time. Yeah. So
I feel that way just from based on the responses I'm getting from the ad for the academy.
yeah,
But
that's cool. All right, man. Good talking to you. We'll catch up soon.
good seeing you, my friend.
Likewise. All right, bye.
Hey, before we go, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. And the biggest thank you that you could ever give me is to share this episode with someone who you think will benefit. That means that we can share this message with more people and hopefully positively inspire them like we have you. So thank you. And until next time, go build your empire.